In our last video, I told you that I was going to start showing off some of the pretty stuff with the house build, and I am here today to keep my promise. We're going to cover 2 of my 3 wish list items that I really was hoping for when we started building the house. Our really unique and modern garage doors, as well as a full glass and steel front door. We're also going to go over how my husband and I painted the exterior of the shop and house, as well as the entire interior of our home. As you could imagine, those wish list items are kind of budget breakers. And since the whole title of the series is Building Modern on a Budget, I'm going to talk about how we decided to take on some of the trades ourselves, like painting and hanging siding, so that we could use that money to put towards items we really want. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Bryce.
And we are building a modern house.
We're trying.
Hopefully building a modern house. We want a cool contemporary house and we need a workshop, but we have an impossible budget. So that means we have to get really creative and be prepared to roll up our sleeves and do some of the work ourselves. It'll be hard, but it will be worth it. This video is brought to you by presenting sponsor Simpson's Strong Tie. In our last video, the walls of both the workshop and the house were filled with spray foam insulation. We then hired a contractor to install drywall throughout the entire house, but not the shop. Now in the detached workshop, we're actually choosing not to do drywall.
Yeah, we've decided to use OSB plywood on the walls, but primarily it's because it's a workshop. It gives us significantly more durability in our walls. If you've ever accidentally launched a board across the room or accidentally thrown a hammer across the room, you know how easily drywall is damaged. Also with the OSB plywood on the walls, we get to be able to hang stuff wherever we want.
Additionally, we had a whole bunch of OSB left over from sheeting the roof and sheeting and shearing the house. So it made sense to use the materials that we already had on hand. To attach the OSB to the interior framing of the shop, we decided to use a drill attachment called Quick Drive from Simpson's Strong Tie. Often used to install decking, the Quick Drive is a really handy little attachment that attaches to a drill and feeds strips of collated screws, making driving repeated fasteners a lot quicker than standard drill and drivers.
So to attach all of the OSB to the walls in the shop, we decided to use screws. There's a couple reasons for that. The first reason is the shop's already been stuccoed, and if you're trying to use nails, it ends up bouncing the walls, which can knock the stucco off or cause cracks. The other reason is because this is a shop space, we want to be able to replace these panels if they get damaged or if we don't want to make a change. So using the screws makes it easy for us to put them on and take them off later.
One of the benefits of framing the shop ourselves is that we intentionally spaced our windows 4 feet apart. This meant we were able to hang full sheets between the windows and minimize the amount of cutting that we would have to do. Since the wall on the west side of the shop is over 18 feet tall, we knew pretty early on we were going to need to bring in some special equipment. We decided to rent a 19-foot tall scissor lift for a few days, and it was a great decision. Thankfully, most of the 4x8 sheets could be installed whole, but there were a few places where we needed to cut the sheets down and/or drill some holes for outlets. We discovered the easiest technique for us was to set the sheets up on the underside of the trusses, temporarily secure it with a couple of nails, and then come back and reinforce the entire sheet with 1 1/4 inch screws. Since we were only using a couple of nails per sheet and only using it on the sheets on the ceiling, not the wall, we didn't worry too much about cracking on the stucco. We would take turns passing the Quick Drive back and forth so that our shoulders would have a second to rest. Don't get me wrong though, it was still a lot of hard work driving all those screws. Window. My father-in-law jumped in later in the afternoon to give us a hand for a couple of hours, and the 3 of us working together were able to hang over 104 full sheets of OSB in a single day. We finished just in time for the garage door company to come out and start installation. The door openings on the shop are 10 foot by 12 foot and 12 foot by 14 feet. We also needed 2 different garage doors on the tandem garage on the house. I knew garage doors would make a huge visual impact on both the house and the workshop. So when we were planning out our expenses, we made sure to give ourselves a generous budget of $12,000 for garage doors. Inherently, oversized overhead doors are just really expensive. Also, to make the most of the mini split systems that we installed in the workshop, we needed to make sure that our doors were insulated to try to keep out some of that intense summer heat. It took a lot of research and quite a few phone calls, but eventually we were able to find a garage door company that was able to give us all 4 doors that we needed in the style that we like within budget. Their quote also included professional installation and belt-driven openers on the 2 house doors. I was happy to defer to the professionals, especially when it came to the heavy-duty torsion springs. The spring tension is adjusted so well that it's actually really easy to lift those heavy, oversized shop doors. Honestly, they look even better than I imagined. I know it seems excessive to have that much glass on garage doors, and I know it kind of is. But since my garage and workshop also double as filming studios, all that natural light is kind of needed. With the garage doors installed, we began installing one of my other wish list items, the front door. In the same week as we were having our garage doors installed, I got notification that the door that I had ordered over 17 weeks before was finally being delivered. The door we chose is a steel and double pane insulated glass door called the Air 4 from Pinky's Iron Doors. The assembly came in 2 pieces, the solid welded jamb and then the actual door itself. Ideally, the door should have been installed before the drywall was hung, but with shipping delays and the craziness in the world right now, it is what it is. This did mean that we needed to use a multi-tool to cut back a little bit of the drywall so that the tabs of the door frame could be attached directly to the framing. We lifted the steel frame into place and then used a level to make sure that everything was square, flat, and plumb. We then pre-drilled and secured the frame using the provided lag screws. At this point, all that was left was to heft the 300-pound door onto its hinges. It's a bit unusual to have a full glass front door, but take a look at it. With all those windows on the front of the house, it was just meant to be. The next decision we had to make was to choose our paint colors. I knew I wanted to paint the stucco white with some really dark gray, almost black accents. But if you've ever been to a paint store, you know there's like 50 kinds of white and half as many colors of black. We started by painting on a couple of samples on the back shop wall, and we decided our 2 colors were going to be alabaster and iron ore, both from Sherwin-Williams. We went and we purchased what we thought was enough paint, and we began the most important step of painting, the prep work, or taping and draping everything that we didn't want paint to get on. So we spent almost all of yesterday taping and draping the windows and doors, and then this giant haboob blew through last night. Howling wind, 70 miles an hour, and we woke up expecting all of it to be ripped off. But amazingly, most of it was intact. We just had a few little casualties that we could easily fix this morning and then get to work. From day 1 of planning the house, painting was one of the trades that Bryce and I knew we were going to take on ourselves. Luckily, we were able to borrow a professional grade airless paint sprayer for no cost, which was a really great thing because even though we were able to use my father-in-law's contractor pricing at Sherwin-Williams, the paint itself was still stupid expensive. For example, the masonry primer that we were suggested to use to cover the stucco goes for around $50 a gallon after discount. Something that makes painting stucco a little tricky is its highly textured surface. Spraying paint alone usually doesn't work it into all the little holes and facets as well as it needs to be. So Bryce and I worked together tag team, first spraying the wall with a heavy coat of primer, and then back rolling immediately using a 3/4 inch nap roller. We were able to make progress quickly, but spraying paint during an Arizona summer presents a whole slew of challenges. It is 5 a.m. You can hear the roosters crowing, and it is already 90 degrees outside. So we're trying to get an early start, trying to get at least a couple hours of painting in before it just gets too hot for the paint and too hot for us. Most manufacturers will recommend not applying paint to a surface above 90 degrees. With some products, you can push that to maybe 100 degrees, but that still meant we had a very, very small window of painting time every morning. Over the course of 2 days, we woke up before dawn, and we had about 4 hours to apply each layer of paint. If this is the first time you've watched a Pneumatic Addict video, I want to say welcome. I'm glad you're here. Take a second to make sure you hit that subscribe button and bell down below. That way you'll never miss one of my DIY projects. When the outside air temperature is in the high 110s, paint dries very, very quickly, which sounds nice, but that meant as soon as we were done painting, we had to work quickly and pull the tape off the windows and doors before the paint could fully dry, creating a skin which could lead to peeling. A couple days later, with the exterior paint looking sharp, it was time to move to the inside. So we have an interesting situation. The drywallers are done. This wall is drywalled and beautiful, but just as we went to go get ready to paint, we realized there was an outlet on this wall at some point while it was framed. And now we have no idea where it is.
That's hitting something.
Sounds like it's hitting wall.
I think that's it right there. I think I'm hitting wire.
Yay, we found it. Since neither of us had painted an entire house before, we decided it was probably a good idea to get a little bit of practice and to start in the garage. We took turns with one of us applying paint with the sprayer and the other one coming back with the roller to help even everything out. We actually ended up using the roller more than I expected.
Roller. 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 Roller.
The day we sprayed the garage was incredibly hot and windy. The excessively hot, dry air blowing in through the garage doors made it much more difficult to spray than we were expecting. It took more time than we expected and changing up our technique several times, but eventually we got the entire house garage primed and sprayed with 2 coats of paint. And yes, our paint looks almost exactly like primer. As we moved into the interior of the house, we decided we both preferred the look of just the paint sprayer alone on the walls and ceiling, and decided to ditch the roller altogether. After spending an entire day prepping all the windows, doors, outlet boxes, exhaust fans, all that stuff, we were ready to start spraying the primer. It took us about 10 hours, but we were able to prime the entire interior of the house in a single day. All right. Whoever decided we needed 48 windows needs a kick in the butt. But it's all done. The prime looks great. We were able to prime the entire house, ceilings, everything in less than a day. So the goal is to get an entire coat of paint on the house today as well, in less than a day.
in less than a day.
The associate at the paint store recommended that we use a paint additive that actually slows down the drying time of the paint, helping it level out and create a better texture. Typically, ceilings and walls are painted with a different sheen, even if you're going to use the same color of paint. But in our case, we knew we wanted the walls pure white, just like the ceiling. And the idea of masking off and draping every ceiling in the house, including the 19-foot tall great room, was way more work than we were willing to invest. So what we decided to do is just use the same paint on the walls and ceiling in a very, very low sheen. We decided to use the sheen called matte, which is actually one tiny step above flat. It still hides imperfections really well like flat paint does, but the teeny tiny bit of sheen in the matte finish makes it a lot more durable and scrubbable. If I could give just one piece of advice about building your own house, I would recommend trying to avoid taping yourself inside an enclosed box during a record high summer heat wave. It's so damn hot.
Good job, babe.
I'm dying.
Let's go lay down.
Let's shower first. Speaking truthfully, the 2 days that we spent painting the interior of the house was physically one of the hardest things I've ever done. Additionally, all the water-based paint being sprayed in the air made the humidity insufferably high. Both Bryce and I were dripping in gallons and gallons of sweat by the time we were done. A few hours after spraying our second coat of paint, we got to pull the plastic and tape off the windows and admire the view. Even though painting this house sometimes felt like it was trying to kill me, getting a good look at those doors helped me decide that it was still worth it. Luckily, since we had already paid for the OSB with our framing package and the screws were left over from another project, sheeting the walls and ceiling of the shop cost us $0. We intentionally kept our paint budget pretty modest at $8,000. Even though we did all the painting ourselves, paint cost way more than we were expecting. Since we never planned on using a professional painter, we made the big mistake of never getting an official bid or estimate to paint the house. We used our own rough calculations to determine how much paint we would need, and we woefully underestimated. We used about 40 gallons of primer and 80 gallons of paint just for the interior walls. Between the primer, paint, and supplies like plastic and tape, we spent over $9,500. Even though our garage doors are a splurge, they actually came in under budget. Our total price for garage doors, openers, and installation was a little under $11,000. So that's about $1,100 less than the $12,000 that we budgeted for. Our front door was also a bit of a splurge, coming in at $2,028. In our budget, we actually have all of our exterior doors lumped together for $8,500. We haven't finished paying for all of our exterior doors, so we don't know how we're doing on budget there. But the price for our front door was right where we thought it was going to be. At this point, we have drawn a little over $193,000 from our construction loan, and we've spent a little more than $37,000 out of pocket. In the next video, we're going to be working mostly on the inside of the house, doing things like trim carpentry and installing doors. We've also got my final wish list item coming up pretty soon, so you got to stay tuned to see what that is. If you want to know more about the budget of our build, I really suggest you check out episode 1 of Building Modern on a Budget. That's where we go over the entire design and projected expenses of the house. If you want to catch up on the rest of the videos in the Building Modern on a Budget series, check out this playlist. And if you like other types of DIY content, check out this video as well. As always, thanks for watching, guys.